A quorum. I would like to make a request before if we can edit this agenda to move item number 5 to being the first item, so we can do that and move on to the next. So with that in mind, is there a motion that we can? Yes, I'd like to make number 5 number 4.
Madam President, I move to adopt an amended agenda. The amended agenda to be item number 5, make that 4, number 5.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor, show by a show of hands. Okay. So, Dr. Moore?
Okay, let me first say, Liz was out, she had a death in her family, so that's probably why you don't have agendas out there, because normally she would take care of that, so I apologize for that. But, our agenda's really simple. So first of all, I want to recommend approval of the consent agenda, which is the personnel certified report and the classified report, and then a bid for the re-roofing of R.E. Lee High School math building.
Madam President, I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the consent agenda.
I second.
Any discussion?
I had one.
Okay.
On the personnel, number,
Support
Oh,
or
I'm sorry.
classified? Certified. I'm sorry.
there is one question that I have about one of our hires. Given that they will,
What number?
I'm gonna look, hold on, give me just a second. I think it's number, and I didn't say circle it, so give me just a second. Okay, number 26. One of my concerns is, just the timing. School's about to start, and I was wondering if this is something that can be delayed until another time, at least to get school started before this move is made.
As I understand it, there's a replacement for this position.
Is
in
it
the
on this
report
one?
also.
What number?
That we're-
What number? Why are you looking for that? What we have done in the past when they have moved to other positions, they still, we're working to do the transition.
Yeah.
There will be a transition period.
Okay, but what number? Oh, yeah, I understand.
Here, I have extras. Some. One bar. Classy, it's number 63.
Okay. All right, that's what I was concerned about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we try to be cognizant of that transition period as we move into, and it's so close to start of the school year, you're right about that, so we have to be very careful.
And there will still, although the person is in, there will still be a transition where both people are facilitating that side.
And one other, well, I'm gonna wait, I'm not gonna pass that one, I'll wait.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have two comments. One, we had a lady contact us, or some of us on here, and it was number, number 27, okay? And I did some checking and found out, and because I actually talked to her, she actually called some of us.
This
Like she
person
would-
called
Yeah,
you? Okay.
and the person, I think, has had over 90 absences, and I thought that we were trying to stop that. And I didn't understand why, I don't understand that.
For the last school term, what was not known. The director did check that out, and she gave that information to him
Okay. The next thing, I mean, it's probably not gonna matter, but I was doing the math, and I go back to the sheet that you gave us with the 12,818 in savings. And I went through myself, because I've been waiting for that, before and after forever, at least 2 months. I'll narrow it down to a month and a half. But I went through and I took all the salaries that we were riffing, added those together, and I came up with 1,151,000. And then I see you had given us 14. 10 of those 14 have been put right back into spots very similar, just kind of they really have. If they haven't been put in ed specialists, they've either been put in principals or assistant principal spots, based on my calculations and what you've given us. Okay, I went through their new positions and their new salaries that you gave us, and I came up with 839,502. It's a difference of 311,000. I'm still, I'm still not understanding how we're getting to the 12.8. Because I'm not even close, and I have done this over and over and over, and waited for that projection sheet, and we're not even close. And so I'm just, you don't even have to answer it. I just wanted it. I want it known that y'all have done that.
Let me answer part of it since we're having a
Okay.
public meeting about it.
Right.
Principals are out of state allocations. They're part of, you earn a principal at a school.
True.
And so if someone leaves, you have to replace them.
And you replaced them with people that you riffed in central office. And what it does, it sends a message to the public. The public was that hears and feels like central office is willing to make a sacrifice to get the tax, the property tax, when in reality what you're doing is you did I called it a riff, shift, or shaft. You just moved them.
No.
So, well, not according, what you
It is
put in
a-
writing
it
and
is
what
not-
I've
it is-
calculated looks like that.
It's not a wash. It is your gross reductions over time equal to a certain amount. There are some places where you have to replace, you have to have a principal. It's a state allocation. You can't do without it. So if someone who was ripped in a position applies and is appointed to the other position that's a state allocation, you are reducing on the other side. So, but at the end of the day, we will be giving you information that shows you, if you started out with 100, you may end up with 80. And that will be a net reduction of a certain amount of money over time. And so it's not quite as simple as tit for tat. It doesn't work like that. Okay?
I have one more statement, Madam President. This one, because as I look at the resignations, there are quite a few. And one of the things that I'll be honest, that I'm a little concerned about, is on the outcome. And I know we're putting a person in a position that may or may not have had the outcomes in the position that they were in. And I'm wondering, how will that person be effective on a higher level if there was some things happening in the position that person was in? And that's the number that I asked you all to look at.
Okay.
So I'm very concerned about that.
I think I'm hearing what you're saying. I believe that the new position is a support resource kind of position as opposed to running day-to-day operations in one location. And the circumstances and the clientele and everything that you deal with at one location would be different when you're dealing with one particular category of support. And part of our thing would be to make sure that we do, from the central office level, all of the support kinds of things that we have to do. But I hear your question. I think I hear you. Yeah, I do.
Is there any other discussion? We've had a motion,
Yes.
Yes.
And second.
and second. All right, all in favor of accepting this report, these three reports, signify by a show of hands, please. And opposed? Okay. What abstention? Okay. All right. Before we move into our advanced update, I would like to recognize that Dr. Eric Mackey is with us today, State Superintendent. And well, I guess we will turn the program over to you, Mr. Andre.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Board members, I'm Ms. Barnes. The last time you kept up with my stuff, okay? I'm gonna put it right here in my glasses too, because I probably need those glasses. Dr. Moore, Dr. Mackey, did I need this microphone you on?
Yes.
All right, good deal. Well, I'm fired up there. The first time I've been told that.
It's being recorded.
All right, we're good? Very
Good.
good. Well, again, Madam President, Vice President, board members, community members, I'm glad to be here with you all this afternoon to give you a follow-up on Montgomery County Schools as far as advanced ed. As most of you all know, I'm Andre Harrison. I'm no longer state director. I'll go ahead and tell you since, because I'm going to do a timeline after a while talking about the differences and updates of what has happened over the time since we've been working with you all. I'm now senior director of the Central Region, and Alabama is still one of my states. So again, I'm glad to be here with you. Let's look at a quick timeline, because again, I'm going to be giving you all an update as to where we are with the accreditation as far as Montgomery County. So let's look at this timeline right quick. So we know that back in 2013, that's the first time, May 2013, that was the first time that Montgomery hosted a systems accreditation review. At that time, Montgomery County Schools was then accredited under the district accreditation model. That review lasted from Sunday to Wednesday, probably about a 13-member team. It was a large team that came in and did that review. Normally when we do the traditional accreditation systems review, that is a large team, about 13 members depending on the size of the team. In February of 2017, Montgomery County Schools went under state intervention. At that time, the state superintendent, between a change in state superintendent, the interim state superintendent notified us of the change, and Dr. Elgart came to talk about the substantive change in January of 18. Then we had a special review. Dr. Elgart decided that we were going to do a special review because of the change in Montgomery County, so we did a special review back in March of 2018. That was the first review under intervention through advanced ed. From there, we came back and did our first monitoring review in December of 2018. Because under this process, when you host a special review, then you have 6 months, within 6 months, to do a follow-up review. Because the special review, as I'll show you in a few minutes, dictates some improvement priorities that you have to work on. And you normally have about 6 months to do that. So there you see that we came back after the report. We scheduled 6 months, and there was December 2018. The last review, monitoring review that we did it in May of 19. So that's just kind of an update on the history of state intervention and advanced ed, just to let you see the timeline, because I know there are some new faces and some new players here. So I just wanted to, again, to go over the timeline with you. All right, this last review, again, it was a monitoring review. And with the monitoring review, again, our job, or the team's job, is to look at the improvement priorities that were left that the system had to address. And so, again, there was a 2-member team that came into Montgomery. And you see the dates there, May 5th through 7th. Let's talk a little bit about the purpose of the review. The most important thing, what we're doing, or what we did in December when we came in, we pretty much looked at what had happened prior to. So what the team did this time, it looked at the last, whoa. So I'm gonna stay from near that thing there. Okay. It looked at the last review and the improvement priorities, okay? And then the team looked at the progress that was being made toward the improvement priorities. So again, the team looked at the last review that was done in December of 18, and then today we're going to be talking about the findings from that. Again, here we go. We looked at the 6 improvement priorities that were left. Now I want to point something out to you all. I want you all to make sure, as when I'm going through this, I'm going to be talking about the improvement priorities that we measured to look at progress and what have you. And I want you to notice the last time, Dr. Keith, when I was here, we talked about, you know, your finance improvement priority. The system had met that improvement priority, so that came off of the list of improvement priorities, okay? So again, because I know some people are going to ask me, wait a minute now, explain some things when I get to the end. Which again, I will tell you, I don't take questions until after the meeting has been closed out by President Well. All right, so you're going to have improvement priorities. From the improvement priorities, because on the special review, we also give clear directives. For example, when we first came here and we did the special review, one of the findings was finance. We were talking about making sure that the budget was approved on time. So in the special review, we give you a clear directive that you must get your budget approved on time and sent to the State Department. And that's what Montgomery County did. So again, in these reviews, directives are what just clear and direct on things that we want you to work on. And then we want to see how the system made progress. As far as the performance standards are concerned, for systems accreditation, Advanced Ed has 31 standards, and they cut across 3 domains: leadership, learning, and resource capacity. For leadership, you see there are 11 standards. For learning, there are 12. And then for resources, there are 8. Most often when you go under state intervention, you're looking at governance and leadership, Dr. Wright. You're looking at finance, and you're looking at student achievements. So now the interesting thing, if you look at these standards, you can, and I'm going to speak louder, you can almost see leadership is going to somewhat align with governance and leadership. Learning going to align with student achievement, and resource capacity going to align with finances, pretty much, okay? So again, kind of just want to show you the alignment there. Normally what happens when we do a monitoring review, we do interviews. We do classroom observation. We look at the artifacts that the system have worked toward to show us that, hey, this is how we are meeting or making progress with the improvement priority. Then we deliberate and we prepare a report. I will tell you this, interviews. I want to say this. Whenever team members have conducted interviews, board members, and stakeholders here in Montgomery County, there are some people who are very passionate about this system. And I love when I have the opportunity to interview people and hear the passion. So, I mean, internal stakeholders like yourselves and external stakeholders like you all out there. So again, I just wanted to make sure I highlight that. Now, here are the findings pretty much. I'm almost there, okay, you all? Just bear with me. I'm giving you a little background, okay, Ms. Brown? It's always good when you know folk in the audience, okay? All right. So let's talk about the findings. Pretty much what we're going to look at, the performance standards really act as the key vehicle to showcase where a system is. And then, of course, we look at policies and procedures and assurances tied to the review. And again, everything comes back to those improvement priorities. So we look at improvement priority 1. All right, this is still an improvement priority, even though we know that the system is working toward improving here. But it still is an improvement priority based on the review and the findings. So it's tied to the leadership capacity. And again, I'll read some of these. You know, I'll read the improvement priority, but the directives, I'll just hit some high point. Adhere to a code of ethics policy which defines the roles and responsibility of the school board members who regularly conduct self-evaluations and analyze the results for consistent productive behaviors. So that says a lot. So again, code of ethics, but at the same time making sure you do self-evaluations and then use that to improve your work as board members or enhance your work as board members. And I will say this, you all, that a lot of times some things are based on timelines. So we do know that sometimes you're working toward that, and we know, again, sometimes timelines play a factor. Those are some directives there. Look at item 2, because again, you all, I'm going to talk a little bit in a few minutes about continuous improvement. And the thing is, even down the road, when Advance said, you know, says that, hey, you are accredited, we're moving on or what have you, the key thing is going to be sustainability tied to continuous improvement, okay? So again, we want this to happen years down the road. We shouldn't have to tell you, you know. And again, that's your next improvement priority, looking at communication. I'm going to tell you, with this improvement priority, the team looked, you know, you've got some processes in place, but yet and still, this is a large system. You have internal and external stakeholders. The key thing is we want to make sure that the message is being communicated not only to the internal folk, but the external folk, and what they need to know about the school system to support the school system. So again, even if you have a plan, and I'm just calling your name, not meaning anything about Ms. Mitchell, but if you and I got a plan that we're going to work together, and we're going to involve all these folk out here, and only you and I read the plan and never communicate it out here what we want those folk to do, that could be an issue, right? So again, what we're saying, if you have plans, implement those plans and what have you. That's the key thing, because a lot of times in interviews, which I know a lot of you are probably in your line of work have done interviews and what have you, you're talking to people and you say something like, you got a plan, talk to me about this plan, then they should be able to do that, okay? Those are some directives there, tied to improvement priority 2. Provide consistent, accurate, and timely information to the community. Improvement priority 3, tied to student-centered learning, and I will tell you, this is a big improvement priority, really tied to the learning capacity. So I have moved pretty much from leadership now to learning. So tied to learning capacity, when we start talking about students in the classrooms, Montgomery has done a lot of work here, but there's still some components that the team has recommended that Montgomery revisits. And board members, I've asked Dr. Moore when I finish the review or the presentation of the review, that she gives you all a copy of the detailed report that will explain that. And that's a directive tied to improvement priority 3. And that's pretty much the only directive, but then that's a big directive. Improvement priority 4, again, engaging teachers and content specialists and making sure that you develop good curricular processes and instructional expectations. So again, I know there's work to have begun there, but still, the team feels that this improvement priority needs to continue to be addressed or worked on. And again, there's a directive. The key thing we want to make sure of here that teachers are involved, to make sure that they have input guided through the district and leaders. Now, so you see, remember I said we talked about 6 improvement priorities. Montgomery, you made improvement because I stopped at 4. So now you have 4 improvement priorities that we want you to continue to work on. And I'll explain that more as I go through. Because again, in short, when you meet the expectation for the standard, then the key thing is going to be continuous improvement and maintaining and sustaining, your work. We come back to finance. As we said the last time I was here, I talked about all of the work that you all had done with finance. So we couldn't leave that as an improvement priority, Dr. Coleman. All we could do is make recommendations, okay, on this one. And you see the 2 recommendations because, again, Mr. Watts, you and your team under the leadership of Dr. Moore and the board, y'all had met the expectations that and I'll tell you what, I asked Dr. Moore, and Dr. Moore, oh, there's my folder. There's my person. Thank you, Ms. Brown. I asked Dr. Moore, I said to print out for me the reports from when we first got started, and I want to just recap, because this special report that we did back in March of 18, you see how thick it is? And there are a lot of that dealt with finance. And now you see the size. And again, that finance improvement priority was a big improvement priority. But again, my hat goes off to you all for getting that taken care of so quickly. So I just wanted to point that out. And then here's this one. So it's about the same width of size as the last one in December. All right, so Rolo, you got my clicker, right? Thanks, sir. Let's see here. So now let's look at the standards and how the standards were rated by the team this time. Last time, as I told you all, the performance standards, all 31 performance standards are rated on a 4-point scale. If a standard is rated at level 1 by the team, it's going to be in needs of improvement. If a standard is rated at emerging, level 2 means that there's evidence to show that you are somewhat on your way, but you have not just met that standard yet. So level 1 needs improvement, and you can see there that, hey, there's no evidence to show that you're even working towards meeting that standard. Emerging, level 2, yellow. Level 3 meets expectations. Level 4, blue, exceeds expectation. So the colors are very important. Needs improvement, emerging, you have not met the standard. Meets expectation, exceeds expectation, means that you have met the standard. So let's see where we are. All right, this is Montgomery County. You see there were 9 standards that the system was in violation of when we did the first special review back in March of 2018. So you see there, out of those 9 standards, only 1 was at the emerging level. Pretty much in short, the system technically had not met a single standard. Okay? Then we did the monitoring review 1, back in December of 18. And you can see that there was progress toward the standards. And then you saw that you met 3 of them. But there was progress in all of them. Now here's where we are with this monitoring review. Standard 1.4, that standard deals with policy procedures and making sure that they are reviewed, updated, and implemented. Based on the information and evidence, the team felt you met that standard. 1.5, that still goes back to the priority tied to code of ethics and what have you with the board. 1.6, you see the rest there. The interesting thing we see here, sorry you all, but if I put this here, it's gonna sweep, okay? When I explain this, I'm gonna speak loud. When you look at these 9 standards, again, leadership, learning, resources, and remember what I was telling Dr. Wright earlier, we're looking mainly tied almost to what state superintendent looks at, Dr. Mackey, and you will see here with leadership, we're making progress. Learning, you have 4 standards. You've met 2 of those standards, you're still emerging here. Forgot to touch this wall. Okay. And then resource capacity, this dealt with your finance and what have you. So the key thing I want to show you here, the example of continuous improvement, is that we came last December and there was improvement. We checked again because sometimes when there's improvement, sometimes people say, well, okay, we've met it. We just don't stop. But not here. So we see that's working. So it's consistent, you know, and it continues to get better. So I just want to make sure you see those 9 standards that were in violation. You see where the system has met with 5 of those standards. I want to give you an example here. Because a lot of people ask sometimes, well, we see the system has made improvement, but talk to us about what the system, or what Advanced Ed does as far as coming in and reviewing the artifacts and looking at the evidence. I want to tell you, Dr. Moore and her leadership team, when the team came in, we asked about, and this improvement priority is gone. It's no longer there because the team felt you had met, tied to 1.4. And I'm talking from a standpoint of improvement, you all, okay, Brooks? So we look here. This is the old policy manual. This is what the team saw when they came in 2018. And yeah, talking to principals, you know, and you know, sometimes, and all of us folks who worked in education, you know, a lot of times, I know when I was a superintendent, I said, what did the policy say? And my friend, you got to be able to locate the policy to see what it says, okay? And again, this is what we saw. And that's a challenge, board. And then Dr. Moore and her team, along with the board, because the key thing is, as Dr. Mackey knows, this is not an easy task to get a policy manual done with stakeholders, with board members, and getting everybody to get it approved, and then get a system in place to make sure you look at it annually and stay abreast of the state laws and everything that govern policy. So this was an example, you all. This shows improvement because it demonstrates, because we went through it. Of course, a lot of people may say, well, that's just a pretty color. I do want you to know that we did open it, okay? It looked like it. But that's an example. That's an example. So you go from here, where everybody's somewhat kind of confused to a degree, to here where this is organized. So that is an example, you all. Sometimes, like I said, when people ask, you know, how did they do? What did they do? And that's why this baby, this one comes out. Now, close, I want to tell you, it's all about continuous improvement and keeping the work going. Even when you've had success, how do we sustain it? So, Mr. Rhodes, look at that. Forgive me for putting you on the spot. But when we think about the definition of continuous improvement, tell me a word, if you don't mind, that jumps out at you. You don't need your glasses. Okay.
Really, when I look at this, there's more than one thing.
Okay.
It's the
Hold on.
constant focus, it's the process, it's the continuous part that
Right.
jumps out for me.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Moore, jump on in here. That's fine, embedded, definitely. So now I want to tell you something. I'm gonna go back to embedded first. I'm sorry, Ms. Rhodes. I'm gonna have to go back to this word first. Embedded behavior. Embedded. That means it's gonna happen when the state's not here or advanced ed. You know what to do. You know what to do to get the job done. Okay? Another word, culture. I want to say something to you. Culture is ingrained. Forgive me for giving you a cultural lesson, okay? But that's something that is ingrained, again, that we know what to do. You know, even when we don't have somebody standing over us, we know how to get the job done. Most of you already here who are my age, you know when you went to school, it was ingrained that if you misbehaved, you know what was going to happen. We didn't take over my dad to make sure that was ingrained in me, okay? All right, so it's important, and you constantly focus. So again, I want to take some time and stop there, you know, that, hey, if you're making improvements or what have you, embedded behavior is embedded, tied to the culture, constantly you're focusing on the conditions and so on. So, now, having said that, there are still 4 standards that are in violation. So you come from 9 to 4, there's still 4 standards that Advanced Ed wants Montgomery to continue to work on to improve. And you see those 4 standards there. Again, 2 of them focus on leadership, 2 of them focus on learning. All your resource ones come off the table. All right. The team made a recommendation to the commission. And I want to tell you that the senior vice president of accreditation that worked with Advanced Ed was very complimentary of Montgomery County and how hard you're working. So technically, we've got a recommendation for you. But before I tell you the recommendation, these are the 5 standards that you failed. And we applaud your work there for meeting those 5 standards. All right. I think somebody wanted that picture. I can almost tell you. Got your picture? All right, very good. All right. Before we tell you where you are as far as your accreditation, level of accreditation, I wanted to go back quickly and tell you that there are 3 levels of accreditation for Advanced Ed. Status is tied to it. You're accredited under review, or accredited under condition. Pretty much here, you met most of the expectation. You're still accredited, but there's some areas that you need to focus on. And here, when you get here, pretty much as the scripture talks about, that's the last level that we're trying to work with you as far as before your accreditation is dropped, okay? So let's see what Montgomery is. Based on the recommendation of the team and the commission, we're gonna keep you accredited under review, but the commission has said that now you're ready to host the traditional engagement accreditation review. Let me say that again. The traditional engagement review tied to accreditation. And what's going to, yeah, you can smile there because that is an accomplishment. The key thing is here, let's look at this part. It's got to happen by spring 2020, but we're still going to go back and monitor those improvement priorities and those standards that were in violation. So, again, most often, systems host the traditional accreditation engagement review, and right now that's on a 5-year cycle. That's what you host when you're in good standing, okay? So Montgomery, while you're under review, you're working towards becoming accredited in good standing, okay? If you were not, then we could have done another monitoring review, okay? All right, and we'll be working with Dr. Moore to make sure that we get that date, okay? And that's going to be the larger team. That was the same type of team that came here in May of 13. So again, you're moving forward, okay? Some of the next steps, and somehow that kind of jumped out of place there. But pretty much all this is saying, you all, that again, we compliment you on your progress that you've made with the previous reviews and areas that were cited where the standards you didn't meet. Mainly what this talks about is pretty much getting ready for the accreditation, the traditional engagement review. So again, Dr. Moore, Dr. Mackey, President Will, Vice President Mitchell, board members, I thank you all so very much. Community stakeholders, thank you all. And Dr. Moore, that is the end of my report, okay? Thank you all.
Do we have any questions for Dr. Harrison?
We, as I said, I don't open the floor for questions,
Until we're
but
done.
you can talk to me definitely afterwards. I'll be around,
Okay.
President. I'll stay around, okay?
All right. Yes, please.
I want to say, that I'm very, pleased with the review that we received today. It shows that there's been a lot of hard work from the first time I walked in and somebody handed it to my, and gave it to me and said,
and I will say that I said, really directly, not under my watch, I don't claim that to happen. But along with all these people on the staff and board members and others, we can see where, we're moving forward on those things, and the ones that have been identified, we will continue to work on, strengthen ourselves in those areas, so that at some point, we hopefully will not have any yellow, it will either be all green and blue. And some people understand those colors, they know red doesn't mean anything good. So we don't have any red, we have some yellows, and we have a big deal more greens. And so that's a good thing, and we're gonna continue to work on those. We're not gonna stop working on them just because today is a much improved sort of report. We're gonna keep working on those, and we're involving everybody. We don't just as a staff say we're gonna do all this by ourselves. We work with schools, teachers, and others out there in the arena, because this belongs to them. It doesn't really belong to central office people. It belongs to everybody. And so I'm very proud of what has been done in our school system in such a short period of time. I think we all need to remember that this has been a very short period of time to make these things happen. They don't happen overnight, and so in anything that we're doing that takes a lot of time, I'll say, some people take 3 years to do this, and they have to do it in 6 months. And so then they get really busy on working on it, and we lay it out so that it makes sense to everybody. So again, thank you all of you contributed to making this a much better report.
I'd like to say something too. I just want to thank Dr. Moore again for your leadership and for your sense of urgency. I think that it's made us all aware of that, and very happy to see that we made this improvement and that we're moving forward.
And I know, Ms. Mitchell and Ms. Cole love red, but we don't.
Before we're done, I do want to also add that Dr. Moore's done a phenomenal job. Looking at that, policy book before and after is just amazing. But we do appreciate your hard work. It's been a very quick pace to get here, and I think we all still appreciate the urgency of moving forward. If there's no other business here, our next meeting is July 30th at 5 o'clock right here, and otherwise we are adjourned.